Hello everyone and welcome back to Championship Showdown. We are continuing with a game from round 4. It's Garry Kasparov versus Fabiano Caruana, and two of them already played quite a long match in 2019, also in Chess 960, and Kasparov got a lot of winning positions, but he was always low on time. But this tournament he's doing much better on time, so let's see how he does against Fabi, as this is also quite the thriller. So without further ado, let's check it out. And here Kasparov with the white pieces opens with c4, and there was a lot of talk about how you would open, as here you can see you have the two bishops here all the way on the queen side, you have the knights on the king side, and I thought before the game that I would play b3 and c4, that would be good because the bishops are here, and that's how Kasparov opened, so I was feeling very good about myself. Even though he opened with c4 first, I thought maybe b3 and then c4, but all in all I did enjoy it. So here Fabi does the same. We have c5 and b3. Of course, it makes sense to open up your bishop pair since the king is here, and he's probably going to castle kingside, so it does make sense. b6, Fabi does the same, and knight g to f3. Fabi goes with the other knight e to f6, and now d4 by Kasparov. Grabbing the center. Also d5 might be an idea, so Fabi prevents it with e6, and here Kasparov just castles. This video we're gonna skip how you castle in Chess 960, as I think now pretty much all of you are up to it. We have knight to e7 and now queen to d2, so just developing harmoniously. Knight to g6 and knight to d3 by Kasparov. We have queen to e7 and here rook f to d1, and Kasparov was doing very poorly on time. Up until this point Fabi was like 18 minutes on the clock and Kasparov was on 10, so Kasparov burned almost half of his time already. C captures on d4, Fabi trades in the center, we have knight captures, and now a kingside castle for Fabi. And here we have pretty normal positions with both players having a really awesome bishop pair, something we don't see very often in regular chess. There you have it. That's a weird arrow, but what are you gonna do? And here, queen to b4. Kasparov goes for this queen trade to increase activity of his knights, and Fabi declines it. Here he goes bishop to d6. He pushes back Kasparov's queen, queen back to c3, and now rook f to e8. We have knight to b5 now, pushing back Fabi's bishop, bishop back to b8, and now again queen to b4. Again Kasparov offers a queen trade, but now there's a problem. Fabi played the d6 here, but there is actually a free pawn action happening here. Bishop captures on h2 is a free pawn, because if Kasparov would capture it, then knight g4 is just winning for Fabi. If you go up the board, of course it's mate in 1, queen to h4 is checkmate, and if you go down the board, it's not much better. King g1, you're just gonna get queen to h4, and now it's a very tough position to play. In fact, it's a losing position for white. So after bishop captures on h2, Kasparov would just have to move the king, and it would be a free pawn for Fabi. Fabi, not a pawn grabber, as it would seem, goes d6, and Kasparov goes f3 to serve as some additional protection from the bishop pair from hell. We have a6, getting rid of that very strong knight. Knight to d4, and now a5, pushing back even the queen. We have queen all the way back to e1, and now d5. Fabi busts open the center, and he wants to trade some rooks along the c file. So Kasparov says not a problem. We have captures on d5, knight captures, and now rook captures on c8. We have rook captures and rook to c1. Kasparov also very happy to trade the other pair of rooks, but here Fabi plays rook to d8. He avoids the trade of the second rook, as there are some targets along the d file, but also Kasparov's queen isn't doing all that much. If you look at these two knights Fabi has, these knights are controlling all of these squares. The bishop controls g3, and it's very hard for Kasparov's queen to find an active square on the board. So here Kasparov tries to activate his pieces along the c file. Knight to c6. Of course Fabi has to capture if he doesn't want to lose the exchange. We have bishop captures on c6, rook captures, and now Fabi uses this opportunity to go deeper into the position. We have queen all the way to g5. Here we have g3. blocking this, it would be very dangerous not to play g3 here, because there are so many threats here with this bishop on this beautiful diagonal. There's g3 by Kasparov, and now, well, you could go queen e3 check, doesn't really do anything, you can just block it with queen to f2. You could put a knight there, also a very nice idea. The knight on e3 is very nice, but Fabi goes for h5 instead. He wants to play h4 and bust open the position. So queen to c1, Kasparov, expecting a great attack, now offers a queen trade here, queen to c1, attacking the queen on g5, and Fabi goes back. He says, I would much rather play h4, bust open the position, and try to go for some sort of an attack here. And now rook to c8. Kasparov again wants to trade pieces, and Fabi continues with his attack with h4, and now f4. By Kasparov, completely numbing out this dark square bishop. So if captures, you can simply capture, not much is happening here. So bishop to d6 by Fabi, and now comes queen to c6, just increasing the activity of Kasparov's pieces. Also queen to a8 might be an idea, putting pressure on the rook here. So Fabi, preparing for that, goes queen to f8, and now also puts pressure. There's a double attack on the rook here, and now Kasparov has to trade. We have captures, and now queen to c4. Kasparov goes back. And now bishop back all the way to f8. Kasparov still has the bishop pair, and Fabi needs this bishop here to help out with the defense, so you don't have any tricks here by maybe going queen d4 and putting some pressure on the g7. This way, everything is nice, and you don't have anything to worry about. And here, a reasonable idea for Kasparov is knight to f2. With the threat of bishop captures here, you would ruin black's pawn structure, and it's not all that easy for this knight to find some sort of a square. If the knight moves, then you might have some problems along this diagonal. But here Kasparov played bishop to d4, and he gave Fabi an opportunity of a great tactical shot. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this tactical shot while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this beautiful tactical shot. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's b5. b5, as now Kasparov put his bishop on d4, and if the queen moves, there could be some nasty discoveries happening over here. And it's a really crazy line. Queen captures on b5, knight captures on f4, and now what do you do here? You could do a lot of things, but if you just capture, then you've allowed your pawn structure to be ruined, and the black will recapture the piece. So you're gonna go bishop b6, attack the queen while the knight is hanging. Knight to h3 check, king to g2, and now even queen to a8 with checks, sacrificing a piece. King captures on h3, and now queen to h1 with a completely crazy position where Kasparov would be up a piece, but his king would be on h3, and it would be, well, it would be very hard to hold this with the white pieces, even being up a piece. So that's what happens if you spot the b5 tactical shot, but Fabi didn't find it, or rather he did, but he wanted to improve it with h3. However, h3 doesn't improve it, as Kasparov immediately plays knight to f2. So this is now a very weak pawn, and Kasparov will claim it. Fabi does play b5 now, but now Kasparov just goes back, queen to d3. But here, Kasparov should have captured on b5, because now it's a completely different story. Now knight captures here, doesn't run into the same idea because of e3. And now this is defended, this is still being threatened, and also you cannot go knight e2 check, the queen covers that. So once you move the knight, then you play bishop captures on g6, captures, and you get this position where Fabi's pawn structure is completely ruined. Kasparov will claim the h3 pawn, and he will retain a much better position. So that was possible. However, Kasparov goes back to d3. He has some ideas along this diagonal. So knight to b4 by Fabi, attacking the queen. Also, the queen has to keep an eye on the bishop here. So queen e4, and now queen to c7 by Fabi. And here Kasparov, of course, now as queen to c1 check is being threatened, you cannot allow this as the pawn guards this square. You have to capture the h3 pawn. So this is what Kasparov does. And now knight to d5 by Fabi. And here Kasparov is pretty much winning. But here is where things get really interesting, and here is where, well, something happens, and something that we're all gonna have to get used to happening now that, you know, chess is pretty much an online thing. So here Kasparov could go knight g5, and it's a winning idea, because there's the threat of knight captures on e6, captures, you're gonna be able to capture this knight, or just captures with check, depending on what black plays. So here with best defense, which is bishop to c5, now challenging this bishop, you still go knight captures on e6, f captures, and queen captures with check. Connecting with both knights here, king to f8, of course if you go there, there's always queen captures here, because the bishop also attacks g6. So here queen to f5 check, and now only once the king moves, otherwise if you go here then this also falls with check. King e7, now you're gonna capture on d5, or you could block with the knight, but then the bishop falls. If you block with the knight, then the queen captures on c5, as bishop captures on c5, as both the queen and the bishop are attacking it. So king e7, queen captures on d5, and now bishop captures with check, captures, and now you could go for this, queen to c1 check, and win the bishop, but king f2, queen captures, and now queen captures on g7 with check. Completely crazy position, king e8, and now h4, sorry, h4, followed by h5, h6, the vast pawn majority will be able to, you know, overcome the extra knight. So this is what was in the position. However, Kasparov wanted to play a different line. Kasparov is up a pawn, so he just wanted to play the calm queen to c2, offer a queen trade, and then if Fabiano doesn't go for the queen trade, then he's going to go for the attack. However, Kasparov played queen to d3 here, and it's a really weird move that doesn't really do all that much. But the point is, probably what happened here is that Kasparov wanted to play queen to c2. He accidentally played queen to d3, but he probably played like queen to d3 and then immediately clicked queen to c2, and then the interface remembered Kasparov's pre-move. So as soon as Fabiano played bishop to c5, the interface immediately played Kasparov's pre-move, and here, well, Kasparov played queen to c2, and he gave up a full bishop. Of course, Fabi grabbed the bishop, and now it's Kasparov is in check, and of course it was in this position on move 35 that Kasparov resigned the game, as now he's just, you know, bishopless. Well, not bishopless, he does have one bishop, but bishop pairless. But it's a really sad thing, and Kasparov was very sad, you know. It's something that we're going to have to get used to happening in online chess, because sometimes you either drop your piece on the wrong square, or you, like, I think this is what happened here, because there's really no reason to play queen to d3, and then of course queen to c2 was played instantly, so I do believe this was a pre-move. But it would be pointless to continue here. You're down a piece, and well, it's such a shame, because it was really a high quality game, and Kasparov had an extra pawn. He could have just traded down into a very nice endgame, or if Fabi declined, it could have been a very nice attack. So a lot of possibilities, but in the end, the pawn slip, the mouse slip, is what you know, was the decisive factor in this game. So tough break for Kasparov, but you know, it does happen. We'll see how this will, you know, how he will deal with this to continue for the rest of the tournament, but hopefully he will bounce back and play some good chess. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Kasparov most certainly didn't, but what are you gonna do? I would like to thank Advait Palakodeti, Jenny Juvonen, David Kimura, Tyler Hummel, and Adam Gripo for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Champions Showdown, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your weekend.